درود دوستان، چطورگانید؟ خوبید؟ بعد از یک روز و اندی غیبت اومدم باز. آقا ما اومدیم دیروز یه ویدیو ضبط کنیم، ضبطم کردیم، بعد داشتیم ضبط میکردیم یهو چیزمون رفت، برق. در واقع برقمون نرفت ها. میدونی چی شد؟ این محافظ مال این مال کیس، اون یهو نمیدونم فاز به فاز شد، پیسی خاموش شد، ویدیو 1 ساعت کلا ملغا شد. در مورد بعد چهارم و فیزیک و اینا بود. ویدیو باحالی بود، ولی خب دیگه به چخرق ولو شد. الان بریم این ویدیو رو ببینیم از کاکای بزرگم، از او یکی زن بومزن سومیش ها. بریم ببینیم. من آژیدا هاکم، اینجا چنل آژیتاک تیوی هست. تیویش برای اینی که بعدا میخوایم استریم را بندازیم و در خدمتتونم با یک ریاکشن پادکست دیگه. بریم. کریستین بیل breaks down his most iconic characters GQ از چنل GQ با 7.6 million subscribers bro. Subscribe and like the content اگه خوشتون اومده و دیگه بریم دیگه. داداش از معروفیت و گیگا چد بودن من اگه زیرنویس پهن بشه خودمو میبرم اون بالا. معروفیت و گیگا چد بودن و خفن بودن این آدم هلو دیگه چی؟ اصلا من دیگه مقدمه چی بگم؟ ولی خدایی یه چیزی بگم، بذار یه چیزی بگم. ناموسن من اون موقعی که این یارو فیلم چی بود اسمش، امریکن سایکو یا به قول ما پست سایکو رو نگاه میکردیم، ناموسن اصلا هیچکی نمیدونست این فیلم چیه کیه. خب اصلا خیلی underrated بود اون موقع. بعد یهو مد شد، یهو ترکید. آره دیگه بریم.
I don't really know how to do the sort of prep stuff without it being somewhat intensive, because otherwise I just don't feel I have the confidence. I always imagine that I'm going to get...
خب صبر کن، این باید بره اینجا، اصلا فایده نداره. هر کس سلام. خب چرا من انقدر زومیم؟ چرا انقدر تو دهن قضیم؟ داستان چیه؟ بله. کمتر شد ولی خب فرقی نکرد در پایان. به هر حال داشت ما اتاقمون میدونی خانه ما کوچک است، اما یک جای کوچک برای خنده در آن میسازیم. انشالله منشن که گرفتم اون موقع اینجوری میکنم چیزمو. چرا نمیشه؟ نه چرا انقدر کوچیک شدم؟ بذار به نظر همین الان اوکیه دیگه. ولش کن بذار بریم.
get to set and the director's going to go, I don't even like this scene, make it up, and I've got to be ready for that. And if I'm not ready for that, I feel very insecure arriving on the set.
پشمام پسر. اونایی که کار بازیگری کردن یا با بازیگری سر و کار داشتن به نحوی میدونن وقتی کریستین بیل میگه من برای رو صحنه رفتن، برای یعنی دیگه منظور از روی صحنه رفتن اینی که دیگه برای اون به قولن برداشتی که میخوان بگیرن آماده باشی بری جلو دوربین. صحنه منظورمونه.
I feel
سین هم
very
که دیگه همون صحنه است دیگه.
insecure arriving on the set.
On the set. سر صحنه. میگه اگه بذار ببینم چی گفت دقیقاً.
And like this scene, make it up. Being somewhat intensive because otherwise I just don't feel I have the confidence. I always imagine, I don't really know how to do the sort of prep stuff without it being somewhat intensive because otherwise I just don't feel I have the confidence.
میگه اگه تو فشار نباشم نمیتونم اون حس رو در بیارم. بعد اگه اون حس تو فشار نباشم، اون حس توم در نیومده باشه، اصلا اعتماد به نفس
So I
ندارم
always
که برم سر
imagine
صحنه. خیلی حرفا این آدم این حرفا بزنه.
American
این آدم این حرفا بزنه خیلیه.
Saico.
خدا
New card.
وای.
Think.
Oh, very nice. Look at that.
Picked them up from the printers yesterday.
Good coloring.
That's bone.
Any scene we were doing every single day, I had the
بذار بیارمش وسط.
book by my side and I would read through it every single
چرا هی میره پایین؟ بابا من اینو آوردم اینجا به یه دلیلی،
time
مریض که
because
نیستم.
Brett had just had so many wonderful descriptions. And I think that was why Mary and I clicked, was because
برای اونایی که نمیدونستن این فیلم از روی یه رمان بوده. بعد کارگردانشون هم یه خانومی بود.
when I first went and auditioned for her, I just went to her apartment and it was just her with a little camera. And I didn't approach it like she said the other actors had, where they were talking about what's his childhood, what's the reason he's become this. I was like, none of that really matters. He's just like this alien. And so as we were doing the scene, I started laughing and she started cracking up. And we both realized
حق منظور اینجوری.
we had the same very sick sense of humor, and we were like, oh yeah, all right, this will work between us. She really put herself on the line, you know, and I so appreciate that because she had so many known actors who were stepping up and wanted to do it, and she just the line, you know, and I so appreciate that because she had so many known actors who were stepping up.
خدایی زیرنویسه بد نیست. الان تا اینجا بد نبوده، دارم زیرنویسه رو نگاه میکنم داره خوب میگه ناموسن. بابا این درگیرم این میره پایین، حیوان بیارمش بالا. دهنم سرویس شد. بذار ببینم یه کاری نمیتونیم بکنیم این یه جا واسه.
And wanted to do it, and she just said,
بابا جون یه جا وایسا ناموسن. یه جا وایسا. خب صبر کن. فونت سایزشو بزرگ میکنیم یکم، طلاییش میکنیم، بعد ویندو اوپاسیتیش کم باشه، بک‌گراند اوپاسیتی لوکیشن نداره که یه جا ثابتش کنی، همین بده دیگه کارش نمیشه کرد اگه اینجوریه. بریم آقا بریم، ولش کن، درگیر نمیشه.
no, I want Christian, even though all the financiers were saying, we're going to give you no money, and then actually kicked the two of us off. You know, we went and we did a going to give you no money, and then actually kicked the two of us off. You know, we went and we did a stage reading in New York for it. Willem Dafoe was there, Chloe Sevigny was there, and Bret Easton Ellis was there, and then we got the money. Yay! But what I
پسر پشمام اولش اصلا موافق نبودن این یارو باشه. واو. میدونی منو یاد چی میندازه؟ یاد این جمله های کلیشه‌ایه که مثلا کلیپ ازش درست میکنن تو این اینستاگرام، که مثلا آره چه میدونم امیدوار باش به خودت، نمیدونم از این حرفا. پسر خیلی خیلی چیز بزرگیه، خیلی چیز بزرگیه این. یارو رو اصلا نمیخواستنش، بعد یارو انقدر آیکانیک شده. یارو رو اصلا نمیخواستن، بعد الان 25 سال بعد هنوز که هنوزه این یارو رو هی آیکانیکه، هی از اون به قولن برجستگیش تو اون فیلم، از اون برجستگی منظورم چیه؟ منظورم از اون بولد بودنش تو اون فیلم هنوز دارن تو شبکه‌های اجتماعی کلیپ درست میکنن، چه میدونم هنوز دارن یاد میکنن ازش. بعد اون موقع یارو که میخواسته مثلا پول بده واسه فیلم، تهیه کننده و سرمایه گذار و اینا نمیخواستنش، یعنی حتی اینو نمیخواستن. خیلی حرفه، خیلی حرفه. یعنی من اصلا نمیدونم چی بگم، اصلا نمیدونم چی بگم. این واقعا یه حسی میده بهت که آقا اگه خیلی جا ول شدی ولو شدی، منظور یعنی موفق نشدی، ولو شدن، یا به بنبست خوردی یا چیزی، ناامید نشو حاجی، شاید گرفت میدونی، شاید جدی گرفت، کی میدونه. شانس وجود داره، شانس چیزیه که واقعا وجود داره حاجی.
Agents forgot to do is sing in New York for it. Willem Dafoe was there.
یه بار دیگه تشکر میکنیم از کجا رفت، اینجاست استارباکس که ما رو اسپانسر نکردن و این لیوان رو ما خودمون تهیه کردیم، توش چای سبز دم کردیم با دارچین داریم میخوریم.
Chloe Sevigny was there, and Brayton Ellis was there, and then we got the money, yay! But what our agents forgot to do, our agents at the time,
حالا ایجنت، کارگزار، مدیر برنامه و اینا ایجنتی،
forgot to do was to include us in the package, and so we raised the money, and then they said, right, and the two of you, bye-bye.
داداش خیلی خوب بود، رفتم اونجا صحبت کردن فلان، اومدم بالا اومدم پایین، بعد یارو گفتن که خب خدا نگهدار، خوش اومد، خوش گذشت.
But I went a little bit psycho myself in that I just said, no, I'm still making the film. And even though other people were cast, other directors were on board, I just kept on prepping. And I would call Mary up and she would say, Christian, they've given it to other people. And I was like, yeah, no, it doesn't matter. We're still going to make it. And she was like, ooh, he's lost the plot. And all my friends were saying that to me, like, what are you doing? And I was turning down. It wasn't like I was getting offered much, but, you know, a couple of projects. Not very good ones, I turned them down and kept on going, and lo and behold, look at that, it did eventually come back, so that felt like a great victory. Don't doubt your gut instincts, you know, always
تا لحظه آخر ادای پیروزها و میدونی برنده ها رو در آورده و آخرش هم برنده شده.
listen, always be aware of the style that the director's looking for, but understand you're always going to bring something unique from anybody else. When there still was the Wall Street trading floors and everything, I went and visited, you know, all different levels of people at Wall Street, but the guys on the trading floor, when I arrived there before making the film, I got there and a bunch of them, they were going, oh, Patrick Bateman, and patting me on the back and going, oh yeah, we love him. And I was like, yeah, ironically, right? And they were like,
آیرونیک از غذا نمیشه، یعنی آیرونیکلی یعنی مثلا از جنبه میدونی، از جنبه شوخی و به قولن، یعنی منظور جدی که نه، ولی آره میدونی اونجوری. حالا نمیدونم فارسی یه کلمه میشه که خیلی نمیشینه روش، ولش کن.
what do you mean?
بهتره.
So it was always worrying, even back then. But, you know, clearly, look, it's a satire on capitalism in the 80s, and as such is so blood on capitalism in the 80s.
طنز که حالا طنز یه جوری میدونی، منظور یه جوری دیگه نقد و اینا هم اگه
and as such is so bloody far-fetched and ridiculous that, you know, to me, I can't help but think it's hilarious.
Do you like Phil Collins? been a big Genesis fan ever since the release of their 1980
میگه فیل کالینز دوست داری؟ بعد دختره اینجوری که یا اول فصل
Effects.
بذار
Do you like Phil Collins?
سیفش خداست. دختره رو نگاه کن حاجی. بذار من بیام این بر. پسر اینو نگاه کن. این میگه یا امام زمان، اون یکی میگه یا ابوالفضل حاجی، یا ابوالفضل. آی 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 خیلی خوبه حاجی. بذار من خودم یکم کوچیک‌تر کنم. آره برو.
I've been a big Genesis fan ever since the release of their 1980 album, Duke.
I'm not going to ruin anyone's enjoyment and say that I'm not a huge fan and that they're not life-changing songs. Of course they are. For everyone, right? Come on, when you admit it. For me, music's so much a part of actually building characters as well. You know, like for Amsterdam, David and I were listening to and watching a lot of jazz documentaries, etc. And I use all sorts of different music to help me, you know, get into the mood when I'm working. Because emotion really comes through the ears. You know, something that you notice when you're in the edit room. You really see how you can see the visual, keep that the same, but change the music, and it absolutely changes the way you feel about it. So it's such a, you know, joy of life.
Get a goddamn job, Al.
مثلا طوری که آمریکایی حرف میزنه خداست. Get a goddamn job. میدونی خیلی باحال حرف میزنه آمریکا.
It's such a, you know,
یه
joy
بار
of
دیگه
life.
بریم.
Get a goddamn job, Al. You got a
خداست.
negative attitude.
نگرش نمیشه، میشه رفتار.
That's what's stopping you.
I remember somebody threatening me on the street because some people did object to the film getting made and all that. And I remember people saying that they were going to do me harm and stuff like that, you know. And I would actually go like, I remember somebody warned me, must have been a friend of mine who was crazy early on the internet. And they warned me, they called me up and they went, there's some person and they know where you walk every single day and you go down this back alley and they say that they're going to jump on you and they're going to rip your cerebral cortex out of your head. So please don't go down that alley. So of course I was like, I'm going to that alley. I want to see what happens. And unfortunately, nothing. I kept walking up and down it going, where are they? Come on. What's but nothing ever happened.
در سرویس میخنده. بابا باز که اومده این گوشه صفحه. ای بابا برو.
Batman.
موسیقی بدبو.
Yeah, what a weirdo, right? Jumping around town at night in a bat outfit. In many ways, in the same way that people were telling me, hey, you can't go play Patrick Bateman, it's career suicide. And I was like, bring it on. I definitely want to do that.
Bring it on یعنی یعنی که دوستش آن را بیافرید. نه bring it on یعنی بذار بریم تو کارش. میریم تو کارش. آره.
Other people also said, hey, you know, if you play Batman, that's it. You're never going to play anything else again. You will always be Batman. And I went, bring it on. Let's see if that happens.
Bring
I
it
just
on.
always
بیابر. یعنی آره. پس بذار این کارو بکنم. پس bring it on.
If I don't have the skill to be able to rise above that, then I don't deserve to either. I absolutely know and cherish the fact that that will be the role I'm probably remembered for most, you know, ever. He's an iconic, you know, larger than life role. But I don't view it really as, oh, being stopped in the street. For me, it was, I could pay off my house. That's a huge relief, you know.
همیشه مثلا مردم فکر میکنن که آره اون در اون لحظه تاریخی چی در ذهنش داشت میرفت. مردی دنبال این بوده که ناموسن پول اجاره خونه‌شو بده. چی داری میگی؟ چی داری میگی برادر من؟ کجایی پسر؟
a dream of mine since being a kid.
میگه آقا به من گفتن اگه اینو بازی کنی از این گنده تر نمیشی. منم گفتم حاجی بذار بریم تو کارش. اگه قرار نیست از این گنده تر شم خب پس گور پدرش ولش کن. در همون لول میمونیم دیگه. مشتی مرد خدا.
So I really appreciate that. I thank Chris Nolan no end for that. You know, the experience of actually working with him, of course, and we went on to make, 4 films together. But the fact that that allowed me to make so many other films. You know, for instance, it took Mary a Herculean effort, which I so appreciate, to get me cast in American Psycho. Post-Batman, it got a little bit easier for directors to suggest me and financiers to say, okay, yeah, we'll take him. You've got the wounded child who never moved on from the atrocity and tragedy that happens to him when he loses his parents. And then the kind of monster that represents, all his anger, and that he, concentrates, focuses into this character of the Batman. And then the kind of charade, which is the playboy, apparently vacant and that no one would ever suspect of having any beliefs or causes ever in his life. Most of my recollection of making Batman is sitting doing crosswords by myself in a blue tent with very uncomfortable stuff on because they wanted me ready in 15 minutes at any given go. So I was always sitting there and these things going, 4 down. Hello, is anyone out there? Making Batman concentrates, focuses into this character of the Batman, and then the kind of charade, which is the playboy, apparently vacant and that no one would ever suspect of having any beliefs or causes ever.
اینجا یکم زینه‌ای داغونه ولی خب منظور رو باز میرسونه.
In his life. Most of my recollection of making Batman is sitting doing crosswords by myself in a blue tent with very uncomfortable stuff on because they wanted me ready in 15 minutes at any given go. So I was always sitting there and these things going, 4 down. Hello, is anyone out there? Come on, I want you to do it. I want you to do it. Come on, hit me.
خیلی بده که پسر نمیتونه، یعنی نمیتونستم با هیث لجر مصاحبه کنن اصلا. خیلی حیفه، خیلی واقعا جاش خالیه که اینجا اونم صحبت کنه.
Heath Ledger, who, oh my God, what a performance, what a pleasure to have gotten to work with him and just to see him, and how much he put himself into the Joker. And I was watching it going, yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. Are we in trouble here? Of when Chris and I first sat down, we said, what the problem with Batman is that the villains are always more interesting, right? And so Batman actually, he's very close to being a villain himself. So let's never let him become dull by comparison. And unfortunately, I was sitting there going, I'm feeling a little bit dull by comparison because Heath is just like killing this. And but I'm so proud of that film. I love it. The Dark Knight is absolutely. We said, what the problem with Batman is that the villains are always more interesting, right? And so Batman actually, he's very close to being a villain himself. So let's never let him become dull by comparison. And unfortunately, I was sitting there going, I'm feeling a little bit dull by comparison.
یاجی من میگه یه کار کنم میگه کسل کننده به نظر هست، میگه یاجی من دارم یکم احساس کسل کنندگی بودن در مقایسه با نقش اون دارم میکنم دیگه. آجی چی داری میگی دیگه؟ واقعیتش اینه که اون داره آجی میترکونه ناموسن. خیلی خوبه، خیلی کارش درسته اونجا.
Because Heath is just like killing this, and but I'm so proud of that film. I love it. The Dark Knight is absolutely extraordinary, and it was such a pleasure.
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? Go back to ripping off mob dealers? No. You complete me.
You're garbage. You kills for money.
Don't talk like one of them. You're not. Even if you'd like to be.
He was a wonderful go-kart driver, racer. Yeah.
کارت از این ماشینایی که چی بهش میگیم؟ کارتینگ. از این ماشینا.
Yeah, we went and raced go-karts and holy crap.
کارت بازی اشتباه.
All the stunt guys and everything. He was quick. When we went to the
همه رو کتک زد چیه؟ منظورش که همه رو برد داخل مسابقه. راننده کارت گرافیک نه داداش، همون ماشینا که
racer. Yeah, of course. top place and then very quietly mentioned everything. He was quick. When we
همه رو کتک زد گفتم.
went to the track, we thought, of course, the stunt guys are going to win, and then suddenly Heath wins, gets top place, and then very quietly mentions, yeah, my dad was a go-kart racer. Very talented individual and a great soul to be around. Yeah, I miss him greatly.
خداش بیامرزد داداش.
The Fighter.
وای پسر.
Dickie, he's such a character. Like, he makes his presence felt all the time. I mean, I spent so much time hanging out with Dickie beforehand and still in touch with Dickie Jr. Being in Lowell, hanging out with him, going walking around, getting kicked out of bars, having almost every cop stopping and going, hey, Dickie, and then telling me about a story about when they arrested him, going to the boxing gym, jumping in the ring and sparring with him. And oh my God, it's really quite something when you might think you can, I'll be a decent boxer. You spar with other amateurs and whatnot. I've done that a few times, but when you get in the ring with a pro, ooh, bloody hell. I remember one time he was sitting and he was reading the script and I was busy doing something else and suddenly I see him like stand up and he starts walking over to David like, and I could see, you know, something had happened. And I went, wait, this ain't good. And jumped over and said, Dickie, what? And just kind of talked him down because it was about sort of, you know, hey, look, when you tell someone's story, you got to tell the good stuff and you got to tell the bad stuff. Otherwise, there ain't no story there at all. It was the first film that I've made with David, and so getting to understand
دیوید او راسل آره.
this process more, and then he's kind of enhanced that as we've made more films together. And I loved it. I loved playing Dickie so much. There were hilarious things, and there was, you know, stuff to do with just sort of almost being shut down by the local cops and things like that. But to me, that's all part of the fun of it.
خیلی کوتاه، البته شاید مثلا بیشتر هم صحبت کرده در مورد فیلماش، ولی خب چون برنامه تایمش محدود بوده فقط همون پارت رو پخش کرد. همون پارت رو فقط پخش کرد. فکر میکنم دیگه واقعا بعد از این فیلم کسی بهش شک نداشت. واقعا فکر نمیکنم بعد از این فیلم کسی به بازیگری شک داشت. جدی میگم. ببین چقدر لاغر شده بوده حاجی.
Don't I look okay?
Brad, when I turned up, was really stunned at how much weight I'd lost. He went, "Oh, you really did it!" Like he didn't think I really was going to. That was just a outward show of his guilt and being eaten alive, literally, you know, by guilt. I'd come off of making a couple of films that I'd been less than satisfied with, and just really wanted something where I could become immersed and obsessed with it. You know, I mean, I remember at the time it was like not the smart thing to do because there was no money in it, and it was like, oh bloody hell, I'm going to lose my place where I'm living, and I was quite newly married and all that. So it wasn't the business smart thing to do, but I've never been smart in a business way.
ببینی همیشه اون مسائل مالی داستان حتی برای یه آدمای بزرگی مثلا مثل کریستین بیل هم مطرح بوده. همیشه اون مسائل مالی داستان مطرح بوده داداش. الکی که نیست. جوک که نیست. مسائل مالی خیلی مهمه آجی. چی میگی؟ چی فکر میکنی واقعا؟ اصلا بعضیا اینطوری هن که نه مالی فلان. آجی طرف تو آمریکا داره زندگی میکنه. زن و بچه داشته، ازدواج کرده بوده. حالا نمیدونم زن و بچه داشته یا نه. ازدواج کرده بوده، حالا به هر حال دیگه سر و سامون گرفته بوده، باید حاجی خرج اونا رو یه جوری میداده و خیلی اون مسئله فراهم کردن رفاه و حالا مسائل مالی برای خانواده‌اش خیلی براش جدی بوده. و اون جایی که پول کمی میگرفته و خیلی داشته فداکاری میکرده و زیادی میذاشته برای فیلم، میگه من خودم یه حسی داشتم.
The smart thing to do because there was no money in it, and it was like, oh bloody hell, I'm going to lose my place where I'm living, and it was quite.
Place I'm living منظورش خونشه. خب میگه خونه‌مو از دست میدم، زندگیمو از دست میدم به خاطر حالا فشاری که دارم به خودم میارم.
Newly married and all that, so it wasn't the business smart thing.
میگه newly married and all that. کلا رو ازدواجش هم اینجوری یه سری رفته روی استیج نمیدونم یه جایزه چیزی میخواست بگیره، بعد اسم زنش یادش رفته بود پسر. خدا بودا، یعنی خدا بود.
to do, but I've never been smart in a business way. But it was something that I really wanted to challenge myself and kind of see, could I achieve that? Could I fulfill how I imagined the part of Trevor should be played? You know, and testing myself.
Hey, perfect fit.
A lot of times, actually, I would sit there with headphones in, but I wasn't listening to anything. I was just pretending to listen so that I could actually hear everything that was going on, but nobody thought I could. Also, at the time, I was
خداست این مرد خیلی خوبه.
engaged in a very filthy habit of smoking, so I was rolling my own cigarettes and sitting there puffing away. I did read numerous things. I remember because of the conversation with Brad, the director, I read Crime and Punishment, but then I was reading a lot of Light Affair as well. The main point was that somehow losing all the physical weight put all the energy into my brain, and so I only slept 2 hours a night, and all I wanted to do was read. And so I would just sit and read endlessly. And I found that I could read without stopping and needing to move or get a distraction. I could just sit and read for 10 hours straight without moving a muscle. Yeah, I can't do that now.
میگه بالاخره من کشف کردم که من این کارو میتونم بکنم، ولی الان دیگه نمیتونم. اون موقع میتونستم، الان دیگه نه.
The Big Short.
I've been very clear. People will
من این
withdraw
فیلمو
their
ندیدم.
money.
من این فیلمو ندیدم.
Lawrence, that would be so stupid. I mean, if the fund's capitals drop too much, then the swap's contracts are voided, and then the banks get to keep all of the collateral.
Wait a minute. Wait.
All of it.
What? The contracts are voided?
کلا خیلی تو کار فیلم های کاپیتالیستی و دنبال پول و میدونی این قضیه مثلا وال استریت و فاز
The contracts are voided?
I had a wonderful day where we sat in his darkened office together and
پشمام حاجی چه استارایی داره این فیلم. بس ببینم فیلم خوبی بوده. چرا وقتی من دارم تایپ میکنم هیچی نمیگه. The Big Short. $89 راتن تومیتوز، 78 IMDb، 87% like this film. Holy shit. نجات بده. میزنیم تو رگ. بس خوش. یه فیلم خوبه هم پیدا کردیم.
chatted and they had scheduled all these things for us to go out and about and do different stuff and we
Michael Burray. Okay.
ended up doing none of that because we just enjoyed talking with each other so much and had just an extraordinary day. And he was so helpful, and then he came to visit the set, and then you know we keep in touch from time to time, and he's an extraordinarily special guy. And wow, what a role! And also my first time working with Adam, which I just loved. You know,
Adam McKay. اوکی. پس اون یارو کی بود؟ چی بود اسمش؟ آدم مکی. اینو که میشناسم بابا، این کارگردان دون لوکاپ بود، کارگردان این فیلم ها، کارگردان وایس. دقیقاً کارگردان وایس، چون من احساس کردم اصلا اون نگاه فیلم آشناه برام. کارگردان وایس بود، کارگردان این فیلمه بود. حالا اینو ما با دوستامون دیدیم. نمیدونستم کارگردان انتمنه، ولی فیلم ازش دیده بودم. هانسل و گرتل ازش دیده بودم، دیکتاتور رو ازش دیده بودم. دیگه بقیه‌ش رو نمیشناسم. جالبه برام. این معروف ترین فیلمش احساس میکنم وایس، با شاید انتمن مثلا. البته بیویچدم فکر میکنم فیلم قدیمی و معروفیه، چون میدونم فیلم معروف بوده اون زمان حداقل. هانسر و گرتر من دیدم ولی خیلی به نظرم خفن نبود. دیکتاتورم آره از همش معروف‌تر شاید دیکتاتور باشه، الان یادم اومد. برای گریمزبی هم باحال بود. گریمزبی هم دیده بودم. گفتم بابا مگه میشه مثلا آدم مکی.
Oh, he's something else, you know. It's like with David, you know, when you get really great directors, they're very unique in the way that they work. Anyone who plays drums can look and go, Christian doesn't play drums. But that, to me, was not the point. The point was not that Michael Burry was a shit-hot drummer. It was that he took his anger out on these drums. And I did. I was just shattering the drumsticks. They were flying across. The crew had to all put shields up because so many of them were flying at speed. Everybody. I love to get to interview people. I love to get to really study them in an obsessive way that you wouldn't get to usually. That's part of the joy of the job.
واقعا اصلا بخشی از
Vice.
بخشی از کاره، بخشی از اون چیزه، بخشی از اون به قولن اون سبک بازیگری که دارنه اصلا.
Since that you're a kinetic leader, you make decisions based on instinct.
I am. People always said that.
Yeah. Very different from your father. In that
پسر این فیلم وای واقعا این فیلم خیلی خوب.
regard.
All right, let's dig a bit deeper and go do the very unlikely thing of me play Dick Cheney, which I was like, what? Adam, are you hi? Usually they don't allow
بالایی داداش.
special effects makeup artists that much time to prep, but I said no way, we've got to have, you know, months and months to get anywhere close to something that can work here, because it's the movement, you know. Thank God, you know, we had people who were patient enough with me to just kind of keep going until eventually going, all right, I think we're in the realm. A wonderful experience working, you know, with Adam. He uses a mic and will kind of just chuck out lines and chuck out ideas and try saying this instead. Not improvising, but like, you know, suggesting lines and nudging you in the right direction, but you've got to be prepared to pivot and be on your toes, even though Cheney's very not somebody who you would think of as being on his toes. He's very much like flat-footed. But
اصلا چقدر این مرد خداست، چقدر.
yeah, no, really enjoyed the immersion that took, you know, even though it was like the 4 hours in the chair and whatnot. I had never believed that it could be possible that I could play him, and to give it a shot is
اینجا دوباره میریم یه دونه از اون سخنرانی های شاید خیلی خوب نباشه ولی خب مجبورم. بعضی وقتا شما حتی خودت هم باورت نمیشه که بتونی یه کار رو انجام بدی. خودت هم حتی باور نمی کنی که شاید بتونی یه کار رو انجام بدی، ولی یهو میبینی که میتونی. خیلی باحاله.
it was a wonderful risk.
You have authorization to shoot down any aircraft deemed a threat.
Presidential authority?
That is correct. All orders are unitaire.
Unitaire, sir?
Unless otherwise directed.
Mr. Vice President, are we sure these are the proper rules of engagement?
The country is under
engagement منظورشون درگیریه، یعنی نه نامزدی.
attack. The ROE is fluid.
Well, he was very brilliant, you know. He is a brilliant man.
من به خاطر همین داشتم میخندیدم، چون کسایی که دیک چنی رو میشناسن، دیک چنی تا اینجا اومدیم دیگه. دیک که میزنی دیک چنی کاکو. دیک چنی هنوز هم زنده است. پوفیوز 82 سالشه، معاون جناب رئیس جمهور ایالات متحده جورج دبلیو بوش. جورج پسر الان خودش 77 سالشه. معاونش در طول 8 سال ریاست جمهوری دیک چینی بوده و میگه که برخلاف، یعنی این داستان فیلم اینه که برخلاف چیز نمیکنه، مثلا اسپویل نمیکنه، ولی واقعیتش اینه که این فیلم میخواد بگه که برخلاف شاید بقیه معاون رئیس جمهورها یا چیزی که مردم حالا ممکن اصلا تصور بکنن، این معاون رئیس جمهور خیلی تاثیرگذار بود و خیلی جا تو تصمیم گیری از رئیس جمهور جلوتر میرفت و حالا اون زندگی نامش، اون چیزی که حالا خواستن نشون بدن که از حزب جمهوری خواه هست. بله 2 تا دختر داره، خانم مری چینی و لیز چینی که خودش هم همین الان چیز به قولن سیاستمدار هست. منظورم این بود که کاملا فعاله توی حزب جمهوری خواه و حالا خلاصه به معنی دیگه خیلی تو اون مسائل نمیره. ولی خانم مری چینی چیز شد، خانم مری چینی مثل این که شایع شد که به قولن بله از اینجا همجنسگرا بود. بعد به خاطر همین این شد آتویی برای حزب مخالف که نتونه خود دیک چینی با اون حجمی که داشت توی حزب به قولن ران بکنه، یعنی اقدام بکنه برای نامزدی ریاست جمهوری. ولی خب دیگه به هر حال به چیز رسید، به معاونت رسید و از معاونت انگار کارش رو انجام داد. به اهدافش نزدیک شد.
Agree with what his intent, was and is. There's absolute brilliance and intelligence there. He rose incredibly quickly for good reason. He understood the machinery of politics better than anyone else did.
بهتر از هر کس دیگری ماشین‌آلات سیاست رو درک می‌کرد. ماشین‌آلات نه، منظور یعنی که سیستم ماشینی سیاست رو.
To manipulate that, and for someone who was absolutely awful at like retail politics, he had no interest in kissing babies or whatever. He was very interested in the true mechanics of power and how that works, and he's nobody better at it than him.
این که تعریف کرد از
Empire of the Sun.
این فیلمی که تو فکر کنم چند سالگیش بدونم 9 بوده. of the Sun فیلم. آره خب بذار ببینم چه سالیه؟ 1987. متولد چنده؟ 1974. نه 13 سالش بوده. من فکر می‌کردم 19 سالش بوده. اوکی. خاطر همین صورتش دیگه عملا خودشه دیگه، اصلا انگار هیچ فرقی نکرده از اون متولد، فقط سیبیل در آورده.
Man, what an adventure. Yeah, it was something else. I got to not go to school and travel about by myself. And I had no idea just how unique that experience was at the time, because I didn't realize that every film didn't build a bloody runway that planes could land on in the middle of a marshland in Spain, or build a pagoda, or build, huge hospitals, or build literally half a full-size stadium out there. I didn't realize every film didn't travel to China and have, 10,000 extras up and down the bund. It wasn't until
اضافه میشه همون سیاهی.
later when I was on much smaller films, I went, oh, yeah, that was a big one. Which I think was great in that way, because I didn't really feel any pressure. And at that age, I didn't really feel like an actual film was going to come out of it at the end. I was just in the moment doing it. Animals.
یا اصلا برام نبود که این فیلم قراره یه فیلمی بشه، برای یه فیلم حسابی بشه برای خودش. من همونجا فقط برای خودم حال می‌کردم.
And children are the best actors. You can't compete with them. And the reason is because they don't give a shit about the consequences. And in many ways, that was how I felt when I was making Empire of the Sun. You know, not through any intentional thing. It just didn't even enter my mind.
B-29s?
Yeah, the super fortress, what we call a hemisphere defense weapon.
Where from?
Okinawa, Philippines. Tokyo is in bombing range now.
Tokyo?
Time to think of going home soon.
There's a great purity to just playing a role, and that's it. Because every kid does it. Every kid. I still consider that I play dress up for a living, you know, and kids do that naturally. It only gets spoiled when adults come in and ruin it by bringing money and expectations and you should do more, etc. That's when things go wrong. I never felt that while I was filming. You know, I mean, there were times because I left my family, etc. They weren't able to come with me, so I'd be like in the airport, you know, crying my eyes out, going, I don't want to go. But when I got there, man, I was loving it and I was enjoying it no end. But then it was when I started doing the press, I didn't get that. I couldn't understand that. And I didn't understand why I had to keep talking about the same thing all day long. And I was starting to go insane, and then people follow me around or whatever. And so that was when I went, oh no, this isn't for me. But I always focused on going, yeah, but I really did love doing it itself. So let's try to figure it out so I can deal with this part of it and not have to stop doing the bit that I really do enjoy. There's a price for everything, and it's once you get your head around it, it's a very small price to pay for getting to tell stories. And I recognise, and I'm so grateful for what I do get to do. Amsterdam.
اونجا که گفت تشخیص میدم، منظورش این بود که من این رو قبول دارم، من یعنی اینو به رسمیت میشمارم.
How can I know this is you really in the picture?
Yes, sir. So, well, I'm the doctor.
بچه.
She's the nurse. He's the attorney. We all met in Belgium, which, if you recall, is where we met for the first time.
To Bert, someone who's in experimental medicine, and likewise so with his brace, you know, it's something that he hates, but he can't be without because he's got such terrible injuries, you know, to his back and his spine and everything like that. So, no, I just kept it on all the time because also you see it through the suit, you know. It's kind of like two little bumps of the metal sticking out, you know. And if I can avoid acting, I do avoid acting. Like if you can just really do it and be uncomfortable, why bother pretending to be uncomfortable? Just be uncomfortable. It was a practical thing because, you know, these were very rudimentary back braces, not like anything that you would get today. These were things that he had kind of made himself in the same way that he's working on creating medicine that can help these returning war vets who weren't given a damn bit of help.
war vets نمیشه دامپزشکان، میشه به قولم اون کسایی که از جنگ برمیگردن، با پیشکسوتان فلان.
You know, they were meant to be returning heroes, and absolutely nobody treated them like that. It was despicable. And who were all suffering from PTSD, but nobody recognized that at all, and these terrible, terrible injuries, but didn't have the right painkillers or anxiety pills or whatever. David and I, we wanted to create characters that we loved, that we wanted to hang out with, characters that just refused to be beaten down by life, despite everything that life had thrown at them, that they remained optimistic, refused to be cynical whatsoever. Eyebrows up was kind of our mantra.
Where is my eye, Harold?
Right here.
Yes.
You leave me here with this invalid when you know very well that I think she should be hospitalized. It's for her own good.
I do remember that both of them looked a bit shell-shocked on the very first day of work because they hadn't worked with David before. We'll film the script, but then he will just throw different lines at people, or he'll just change the lines. No, don't you say that. You're going to say that now. And he'll be laying on the floor underneath here, and then he'll crawl during the scene over there, and then he'll be up behind the camera over here, and then he'll just say, change everything and go do that. And I love it. But David would occasionally come to me when he saw someone was just sort of looking like a deer caught in headlights and say, oh, can you go be the ambassador and just explain how we're going to do this? And then everyone got into it, and then it's really joyful and just a very, very satisfying experience. And Margot and Jade.
حالا جالبه برام این که مثلا بازیگر به این بزرگی وقتی کارگردان مثلا به قولن اون متن رو عوض میکرده، فیلمنامه رو عوض میکرده، یه سری چیزا رو عوض میکرده در لحظه، نه فقط هم برای یک نفر، این میگه من کاملا اوکی بودم باش حالا میکردم. بعد میگفت به من بگو که برم به بقیه بگم که بقیه هم راه بیان با اون قضیه. خداست.
He just embraced it. You know, and then I would go off and, you know, I'd telephone him and go, I sound like a stalker, but I'd be like, there's a dude I'm following down the street. Oh my God, he's fantastic. I'm going to use this for Bernie. He's like, great. And then I'd tell him that. Mannerisms from different people, attitudes. You know, it was all kind of very baked in and over years. So what's wonderful about that is that by the time you're actually filming, it's really in your bones. Pale Blue Eye. There's so many good actors. I tell you, lately I've been so blessed with the different amount of talented actors I've gotten to work with. And so it was a real pleasure to work with all them. But let me just focus on one, and that would be Harry Melling, because Harry is just a really superb actor. And so I just enjoyed any day that we got to do scenes together. Scott Cooper and I have worked together now. This is our third film. I love working with Scott, and this was something that we've been talking about since like 2012 that he had been putting together. He is prolific beyond belief in terms of his writing. He went and did different things. I went and did different things. But just the period of it, the gothic sort of crime nature of it, the sort of fun origin story of Edgar Allan Poe and what might have made him into such a master of the macabre, and why he was so comfortable and enjoyed that way of thinking and trying to think about, okay, well, what let's create a character that could have inspired all of that, and that also keeps in the vein of an Edgar Allan Poe story itself as well. So, and I think Scott's done a superb job again with that.
اوکی. خب دوستان، اینم از این قسمت. واقعا خداست. دیگه چیزی ندارم بگویم. بذار کامنت بخونیم. میگه که نقش مورد ملاقه من پرستیژش بود. حیف شد که بهش اشاره نکردن. خیلی خفنه و underrated. دیگه اینو دیگه همه معنیشو میدونم، ولش کن. He never turned a bad performance. That's impressive and rare. Just shows how talented he is. He chooses really well his roles too, and never disappointed. I can't imagine the cinema without him on a screen anymore. میگه خیلی بازیگر با استعدادی و فلان، نقشه خیلی خوبی انتخاب میکنه و هیچ وقت هم اون قولن کسایی که تماشا میکنن و ناامید نمیکنه و واقعا نمیتونم باور کنم که یه روز قراره که سینما بدون اون کارش ادامه بده. حالا دیگه اینقدر بد و سیاه فکر نکن دیگه، حالا هنوز زنده است. It's crazy how rare it is to hear his real voice. میگه که واقعا دیوانه کننده است که چقدر کم میشه صدای واقعی خودش رو شنید. داشت این برون بر کلی مصاحبه داره، برو نگاه کن دیگه، دیوانه ای. خب دوستان، این ویدیو همینجا دیگه تمومه. تا خدا هست مشکلی نیست، چشم رو هم بذاری هاشمی نیست. شب خیا. مورد.